Michael Flynn, he is in some kind of trouble, and I have to tell you, I cannot figure out what the U.S. Justice Department is doing. Flynn is seeking to change his guilty plea on charges of lying to federal investigators. In a new court filing, Flynn citing the government's, quote, bad faith and vindictiveness against him. The move comes just days after federal prosecutors changed their recommendation that Flynn be given a lenient sentence to up to 6 months in prison. Joining us tonight is the woman trying very hard to get justice for the general, Sidney Powell, attorney for former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, former federal prosecutor, I should say, and author. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Great.
So this is one of those cases where I have to tell you, just reading about all of these motions, what you're discovering just leaves me infuriated. This is the Trump administration's Justice Department.
It certainly is now.
And they're going after General Michael Flynn. And as I read what you have filed here, the prosecutors, in point of fact, were lying to and defrauding a court.
That's, to put it mildly. We have evidence now that they were actually trying to force Mr. Flynn to lie to a jury and a judge in the Eastern District of Virginia last summer, and they knew that's what they were trying to do then. We have a redlined document showing that Mr. Van Grack himself transmitted to Covington.
The prosecutor.
Yeah, the prosecutor from Special Counsel's task force, who's still running this prosecution because
he has a history.
Yes, he has a history. He was with Mr. Weissman on the Special Counsel operation and determined to take down General Flynn because that was their path to the president. They had to prosecute Flynn to try to pursue the obstruction mess.
So what is in store here? He's due to be sentenced this month, correct?
Correct, but the government's already agreed to our motion for continuance. The judge has not entered an order on that yet, but they agreed to a 30-day continuance.
Well, isn't that delightful?
Yes.
At some point, a judge has to make a decision. And an attorney general has to make a decision about what something called the Justice Department considers justice. This sounds like the most antithetical to justice case I've seen in recent memory, and I've seen some beauties given the special counsel and the other madness of the efforts to overthrow this president.
Oh, what I'm seeing and finding by the day is an absolute outrage.
Give us an example.
My brilliant colleagues just found before I came over here is that Mr. Van Grack actually changed the language in the statement of offense they created against General Flynn and knew that. So when he said last summer that he wanted Flynn to testify to something, he knew because he did it himself that it wasn't true. And if that isn't subornation of perjury, I don't know what is.
It's so.
And now
so
they're going to punish him for not lying in his sentencing.
This is amazing because he didn't yield to extortion. He is going to be sentenced, if the judge in this case and the prosecutor have their way, to 6 months in prison. So isn't there, these sound like crimes. This is not just simply process, a difference of opinion about the way in which paperwork is filed. These are actually abuses of power by prosecutors.
Well, it's subornation of perjury, threats to suborn perjury.
So can you put the prosecutor in jail for it?
Well, if I were a prosecutor, I could.
Well,
as a defense lawyer,
where do we find a prosecutor? Where does a former federal prosecutor find one? Can you not turn to the Justice Department and say, isn't there some basis here for ethical conduct in this Justice Department, and who the hell do I talk to?
Exactly, yes. That will be forthcoming, and we've got even more evidence now, including that the original 302 does in fact state that Mr. Flynn did not lie, which explains why the original 302 is missing, and a few other things.
So it sounds as though not only did the prosecutor commit fraud and lie and attempt, as you say, to extort a guilty plea, it sounds like the FBI was an accomplice, if not...
And they still are, because they haven't produced the original 302. Their system tracks everything. So if somebody destroyed it, the audit trail will show that too. And we haven't been able to get the original 302 or the audit trail. Judge Sullivan denied us all Brady.
Will Judge Sullivan have the, forgive the expression, judgment and the integrity to grab the Justice Department by the nape of the neck and bring them forward and say, this has to end?
I certainly hope so. It remains to be seen. We need the continuance first because there's still more information I need to brief for him.
Well, surely this judge has courage and integrity enough to do the right thing. Couldn't it be that simple?
It could be that simple.
Sidney Powell, because it's not that simple, we wish you luck and give them hell.
Oh, we won't stop until we win.
I had a feeling that might be the case. Sidney Powell, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank
Good luck.
you.